Good evening. It is 5:30. We're here for a special meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Rhonda. Here.
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 Thank you. The first item is an informational item, which is 3.1 Cobra Stack Quarter 2.
It is, Madam President, members of our Board of Education. I want to welcome Mr. Clark and Mr. Smith. Mr. Clark, the proud principal of our 6th grade campus, and Mr. Smith, the assistant superintendent over Network B. And the reason this is coming before you tonight is Mr. Clark will be out next Thursday when all the other principals, so we wanted to make sure that we got it in ahead of time. So, gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you, specifically Mr. Clark. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Madam President, board members, Dr. Paluski, thank you for fitting me in tonight. I really appreciate that. It is my honor to present to you tonight where we stand as far as where our students are growing. As I go through this, I will also say that we still have work to do. We're not where we want to be, but we are growing, which is something that, as a principal, that I am proud to see and to know that our kids are making progress. So as we go through this, I'm sure everyone is aware of our mission, vision, and moral purpose. The purpose of why I'm here tonight is to share our student growth data, especially focusing on our lower quartile, which is our bottom 25%. And as you know, that is where we can get double points for those students as we grow them. And so even though our focus is on every student, we're really putting a focus on the lower quartile students because of those double points that we have that opportunity to gain on. The process, North Little Rock Middle School 6th grade campus will evaluate the implementation and impact of support students in the bottom 25% are receiving, and our intended outcome is the focus is for our students in the lowest quartile to meet or exceed their individual growth targets and demonstrating significant academic progress. So this is a snapshot from last year, 24-25 school year. Really, these numbers, as we talked about at the beginning of the year, are not where we want to be. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. We've presented this before. This is what's got us into the status that we are currently in. The growth did not happen last year. Our achievement did not happen last year where it should have been. So many changes have taken place for this school year. And as we move forward, and again, this is our projected outcome as we move into this school year. This first column, where we hope our achievement will be, and in conjunction, or in collaboration, I should say, with Dr. Paluski with his goals, with Mr. Smith's goals, and then coming down to a building level goal, we have set at proficiency level for our level 3 and level 4 students combined for language arts at 33%, math at 27%, and then science at 34%. I will say those are lofty goals, but I think that we have the ability to attain those. And to get to that point, that would put us at 94%, or a score of 94, which is almost double of where we were last year. The growth numbers, I'm going to be completely honest with you, there's no magic formula to predict a growth number right now. But we made predictions of where we would like our students to be, and that is if we can get over 56% of them to grow, and that's the total growth, and then our lowest quartile to match that number, then that gets us a growth score of 168 in both categories. And then adding all those together, that gets us to the next slide, and if I could bring your attention to the right column, because the left column I don't even want to talk about, because that's last year. That would get us to 430 points, which would put us into a C category. And that's a high C category, as you can tell. That's in the upper echelon of that area. So again, that's a lofty goal. Do I think we can do that? Absolutely. It's going to take a lot of work all the way up until the day that we test. Our teachers have been working hard. In fact, Mr. Smith and I have had many conversations over the last several weeks about our teachers are very anxiously awaiting the winter interim assessment to see where our students currently are, which we'll be taking about mid-February. So we're looking to see what kind of growth those students have actually attained from the fall. When we look at the lowest quartile, these are the numbers of where we currently have. 116 in language arts, 123 in math, 124 in the science area. There's a slide in here that has our total enrollment at the time that we pulled these numbers, which was the December 19th number. We were at 512 students. So I know those numbers kind of fluctuate, the 116 to 124, but it's also based on how the state has us calculate where that score is, because there's a cutoff score based on a formula that it would take us, Dr. Paluski, another 30 minutes to explain. So if you'll just trust us on that, that's why those numbers don't match based on that 25% of 512. But it is based on where the test score actually is based on a whole group of students. Mr. Riddle, do you mind flipping over to the spreadsheet? So in this particular category, this was the number of students that we tested from last year. And based on our I'm sorry, let me back up. This is students that we currently have that we're testing. And on the first tab, Mr. Riddle, the ELA, 6th grade at the bottom. So this is the lowest 25% of our students, and of course, do not have the student names on here. We're identifying them as student 1 through 116. It has their 5th grade summative score that they took at the end of the 5th grade school year, and then what their fall score was. And then, of course, the column D has whether they grew or did not grow, or if their score stayed the same. The one thing I do want to point out in that column E, where it says their area of greatest growth potential, those items, when we really dug into the data and in the standards, those items have not been taught yet. Because I want to reiterate, I know you've heard it many times, that when we took the fall interim, the information that those students were tested on was the entire school year, or all the standards for 6th grade. And so when we dug into the standards, the majority of the area of greatest potential had not been taught yet. And Mr. Riddle, if you can click over to math for me, please. For example, column E, I don't know that the columns are short, but where you see geometry, like in student 2, that is over half of those students. That's geometry, probability, statistics. They are just about to start that. So it hasn't been taught when we tested in the fall. Probability will be taught right before testing starts. So some of those items that they were testing on have not been taught. If you don't mind, Mr. Riddle, science portion. Same thing here. Earth and space has not been taught yet. Life science, they just finished. So the greatest potential that we saw has not even been taught when we took the test. So those are some things that we're very hopeful for on the achievement part, and hopefully on our growth also. So I'm ready to go back to the PowerPoint, please. So here, this gives where out of those 116 students in ELA, based on the fall assessment, 38% of them grew. In the math, over half of our students, at 57% of them have already grown based on the fall assessment. And so that means 57% of those students have grown without even being taught some of those standards. Science, 53% of the students have shown growth without being taught some of the standards. And so that gave us some hope. Again, we have a lot of work to do. I'm not saying that we're there. I'm just saying it gave us some hope that we're moving in the right direction. When it comes to absences, this is something that was very eye-opening. We have been tracking absences this year. We really, I'll be honest with you, we've done it as a whole school. We haven't really broke it down to the bottom 25% until we pulled these numbers here. The one thing, the 10% is how we looked at it from the first semester. So if we look at it as about 85 days, so 10% of the chronically absentee percentage is what we looked at, so that's 8.5 days. So if they were absent 8.5 days or more in the first semester, that's how they made this list. So in ELA, in the bottom 25%, 33% of those students were absent 8.5 days or more, 45 in math, 37 in science. You would think those numbers would match. Some of that is due to maybe a child being checked out, coming in late, possibly being pulled for a disciplinary reason, that they might have missed a class. Several things that could go into effect of why those numbers don't match. But again, that's where those percentages are. One thing that has really helped us overall, I'm just going to speak whole school, is having a wraparound service person in our building. We have seen our overall ADM percentage go up this year. Usually we're hover around 92%. We're about 93.5. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but having kids there in school, even at 1.5% more, we'll take it. I mean, that's a growth. This is the enrollment that I was referring to earlier. When we started the school year, we're at 499. As of December 19th, 512. And when we've come back since the holiday break, that number has gone all the way up to 518, down to 509. It is, kids coming in and out after the holiday break. But 512, when we pulled our data, was the number that we used based on where we are for this information. Report cards. When it came to first quarter, second quarter report card information, and again, remind you, this is just the bottom 25% students that we're looking at. This is the breakdown of where their report card status was. So as you can see, in the first quarter in ELA, for those students, it was a little tough. We didn't have very many students made A's or B's, a lot of D's. That did start to change where the grading spread out a little bit more. Math, we had more students earn an A. Science, more students earn B's and C's. And so we're looking at some of those things, and we hate to use the term grade inflation, but it is a real thing. And it's not just a North Little Rock Middle School 6th grade campus issue. It's a state, it's a national thing. And so it's something that we really have to look at in correlating not only test scores, but what they are earning in the classroom, and really look at, are they earning that grade, based on, are we really pushing the rigor that those kids need based on what they're being tested on. Honestly, that's one of the things that we're pushing is our teachers looking at those DOK levels. The depth of knowledge, making sure they're going from 1 to 2, pushing into a 3, really pushing those students to really have those critical thinking skills and digging deeper into what the content is, instead of just the what questions or, just the quick answers and moving away from that, because those letter grades may be a little bit different if we're really pushing those DOK levels to a 2 and a 3 more often. Again, this is the math. Really won't go into a lot of detail. As you can see, the numbers really correlate from ELA to math. And again, this is the science students that were in the bottom 25%. Really, they kind of look the same as you go through each one. When we have, the fall interim, this was the breakdown of where our students were. And as you look at that, we had 44% that scored at level 1, 31 level 2, 16 at level 3, and 7% at level 4. So as I talked before at the very beginning, our goal is 33%. Currently, we're sitting at 23.7% proficiency in ELA. So we're short, we'll say 10%. So we've got some work to do. That's the achievement part. So we're not looking at growth on this. This would be where we want our students to achieve, moving from level 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 1 to 2, and so on. And so we're really trying to not only improve the growth, but we have to make sure that our students that are level 4 stay at level 4. The ones that are level 3 stay at a level 3 or move to a 4 and grow those 2s to a 3. We had so many students that were so close to a level 3. 1060 is the mark. We had probably 15 to 16 students that were at a 1058. That can be done. That can be done. And so we're really focusing on, I hate to use the term bubble students, but that's what they are. They are right on the verge of being where they need to be. Again, without teaching all the content also. And so that's something that we're looking at. When it comes to math, gap's just a little bit bigger. We're currently at 15.5% proficiency. Our goal is 27. So again, we got some work to do. And then science, 15.4 is where we currently are, and our goal is 34%. So that's our biggest deficit. Again, life science was not taught. Earth and space science was not taught yet when they took the test. So not using that as an excuse, however, just as a reality, but we're hoping that our students really show that. This is a comparison of where they were last year as a summative group, or as a 5th grade, when they took the 5th grade summative test for the Atlas, based on where we are now. So it's just giving you that comparison on the right side. So level 1, they were at 35% last year. We're currently at 44, 37 to 31, 18 to 16, and then 9% to 7%. So that's what our focus is making sure we're growing the level 1s to a 2, 2s to 3, and then making sure the ones that are proficient stay proficient. Math, same scenario. Again, moving students from level 1s to 2s, 2s to 3s, and keeps the 3s and 4s at that level. Again, same record, same song on science. So this is what we're doing for that bottom 25% or the lowest quartile. So every student that is in our lowest quartile for ELA, math, and science, every Friday, starting in tomorrow, we've been doing this we started in November, picking it back up tomorrow. Every Friday during our first period, actually it's an extended first period for 90 minutes, we have small group instruction for every student that is in the bottom 25%. Every student. So tomorrow's a math focus, so 123 students will be in a small group setting with either a math teacher or a science teacher or another teacher that is really good in math. And when I say small group, we're looking at no more than 10 students in that classroom with that teacher. And they are working on grade level standards. So we're going back and looking at what they are deficient in and reteaching. So we're not moving forward yet. We're going back and reteaching. All the other students that are not in the bottom quartile are also receiving intervention. Their classes are just larger. So every student is in some type of intervention class unless you are a level 4 student. Those students are getting an enrichment class, which is going above and beyond, trying to push them to stay in that level 4 area. Now, also on Monday and Tuesdays of every week, we have Success Maker Math, which is a prescriptive self-paced program for all of our students. So if you are a student that is very proficient in math, you do really well, it is pushing you. And we have some of our students that are already in 7th, 8th grade math program based on Success Maker Math. So it's pushing them there. Some of our students that struggle in math may be on a 4th grade level math class or program. So it's prescriptive based on where they are. When Mr. Poore presented last week, he talked about our wall. You know, that's one of the things he looked at. They get to put the star on the wall. He also talked about one of the things about talking to parents. Do we let the parents know? We are now. So, and I think Dr. Paluski and Ms. Greening may have mentioned that to you the other day. So we are letting parents know when the star goes on the wall, a certificate goes home. So our parents are being notified when they show growth based on this program. Success Maker Reading is done on Wednesday and Thursday. It's the same thing as Success Maker Math, it just focuses on reading. So it's a prescriptive program for them. And so that's what we're doing for not only our bottom quartile students, but also for every student in our school. This is our theory of action. It's kind of what are the things I referenced to. These are the goals that I know Dr. Paluski sat down with Mr. Smith. He sat down with me, that we sat down together and made for our campus. We think they are attainable goals. These are things that we really think that we can focus on and improve on our campus and get us where we need to be. So with that, I will end my presentation and open for any questions.
Awesome. Anybody on my left have any questions for Mr. Clark?
Mr. Clark, I understand the effort that's being put to move the 1s to the 2s and the 2s to the 3s. I understand that. And the time it's taken out of the school day. How is that going to impact just regular school learning? If will we be able to ensure this effort is going to move that 1 to 2, because we're going, like you said, we're going back to try to bring them up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we're doing it during the school day, all right?
Yes, sir.
Are there anything we're doing after school or before school?
So to answer your question on that, we do not have an after-school or before-school program. However, I will speak on going back, when we talk about our school day, the advisory period that we have, which is our first period class, every student is in an advisory class, and we dedicate that time every day, which is 50 minutes, to Success Maker Math and Success Maker Reading. That's built into our schedule every single day. So when we do our intensive small group on Friday, which is 90 minutes, then we're only taking just that difference from the 90 to 50 out of the regular school day and adding it to that. And so we're just taking that amount of time and adding it to that period to do that intensive small group. And so it's only affecting our school day on Friday, which is just an extra 40 minutes taken away from the actual classroom instructional time, added to that advisory period on Fridays.
Okay.
But to answer your question, we do not have an before school or after school tutoring program.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I know you've mentioned that some of the things that Mr. Poore had recommended that you're doing those. One of the things I remember him talking about was changing the walkthrough format that you use. Has that been changed? And
That is a conversation that Mr. Smith and actually Dr. Paluski was in on that conversation also. I know yes, that is a conversation we have had. We have had, what are some things that we can do to condense that more? So it is in the works. And I know it's a process that, it's just, we can't change it just like that, really quick, but it is something that Mr. Smith and I have sat down. We have had that conversation of what it could look like. But right now, we're still rolling with what the district has, with that process taking place. As we're working on that
Right.
process, so yes.
you can't do everything day one, right?
Right, but it is in the process of taking place, yes.
Are you dreaming about numbers?
Yes,
You
ma'am,
have a lot of numbers rolling around here. And
absolutely.
you have a lot of them in your head, I can see, so just had to ask that.
Yep.
Thank you. This has given us a great picture, and we will be looking forward to how that interim in mid-February is going to turn out, too.
We are too. Thank
Can I
you.
just add something to that, Dr. Redis? So you probably hear the word key levers, and when you hear that word, you're like, well, what really is that? So key levers are look-fors that the State Department has said in your tested areas, which is ELA, math, and science. These are the things everybody across the state should be looking at. They're specific to the content area. So if you're going into a music class or you're going into another class, they might not be applicable because it's a different content. And that's where they're looking at best practice in instruction and still giving those teachers feedback. But the key levers that you're going to hear about, which I think is what Mr. Poore based that report off of, is based on those look-fors. And to Mr. Taylor's point, I thought we had the high impact tutoring grant that was a part of your school as well.
We did not get it 7th, 8th grade campus.
It was
yes.
I couldn't remember
Yes,
if it was
sir.
7th or 8th or 6th.
Yes, sir.
And I know of the 750,000. I couldn't remember if it was both or one.
It's a lagging award, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
because we just got it late. We just got it in December, I think. Yeah.
I've always found sixth grade campus to be unique. You receive all of the fifth graders that are funneled into your campus for 1 year. You have to take all those fifth graders turned sixth graders, and you have to figure out where they are. You have to teach where their gaps are, and then you have to expect growth, and then you send them on to the next campus the next year. It's always been very unique, the sixth grade campus. I'm not making excuses for you. If anything, it's a double-edged sword. But I always found it to be challenging for that campus. We have some wonderful teachers over there. Many, 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 many seasoned teachers at one point we had. And the novice teachers that are coming in, I'm seeing them teach at a different level, and it's exciting to see. The few times that I've been on your campus, the kids are intrigued. They're wanting to learn, and I see them learning, so I appreciate that. My question for you would be, do we send, back in the day, if you will, we used to send home reading expectations, summer reading, weekend readings, anything of that nature. Have we kind of gotten away from that, if you will?
The expectation is still there for our students to read. To answer your question, as far as the summer reading, to have that prescribed reading, because I know when we had like pre-AP, we used to have summer reading that was required. When they came back, they would start an actual assignment from day one based on being in that program. Not to use it as an excuse, but once COVID hit, we got away from it.
I understand.
And so that is definitely something that we need to possibly look with Mr. Smith, coordinators, and see if that's something, especially pushing our advanced kids, to make sure, or any kid for that matter, to make sure that they're not losing any growth that they have, is to have some type of prescriptive program or recommended program over the summer because not every kid's going to go to summer school. Not every kid is going to have some type of summer program that they go to. But if we can provide them with some type of recommended reading program, and it's not going to hurt.
I was just going to ask Mr. Clark, during, and I think when I've been there, during their interims, so your parent conferences that you have, and I know you're in the teaming concept where they're talking about with kids, I would think that your teachers would be talking about how, you know, little Michael's doing and strategies, because I know our content areas push that out to teachers, that when they're having a parent conference, you know, what can we do, what can you do at home as a parent to be able to support your child's literacy at home as well in school. Now remember, on the Learns Act, you've got to have an individual reading plan or a reading at home plan, although the law only says that you have to do that through elementary school and not secondary, but that's something that we're going to work towards.
Yeah, we have the math plans that by law we have to send out, but that is something that we could, because we used to have to do a literacy plan even in 6th grade, but the new law got away from that. They supplemented it with a math plan now. So I think that is something that.
You just have a literacy plan within your school improvement plan.
Correct, exactly, yes, sir. Yeah. We don't have to have an individual student literacy plan, so.
Anyone to my right have a question?
Oh, I want to ask you a question. With us having Atlas people, and listen to Mr. Poole's report, the teachers stated that nobody came to see them. I guess the question I'm asking you, know, with the curriculum and the math and the science coaches that we have, the ladies that have sat down there and gave us reports, how frequently are they in your building as giving you support to help you in the efforts that you're trying to do to improve this 25% of your students?
They are.
So you're talking about the coordinators, right, Ms. Williams, not the
Yes,
coaches, the coordinators, okay. You
Coordinators.
said coaches,
Sorry.
I just want to make sure we clarify.
We see them at least on average 2 to 3 times a month. However, that is in person. However, we see them and talk to them every Friday that we do not have a principals meeting, and every principals meeting they actually lead a lot of the PD that we have. So we do get support from them. In fact, last week we had a 3-hour walkthrough of Miss Langston from English Language Arts. Got a great report from her. Next week we have math, and the week after that, Miss Carmichael with science will be there. And so they're there. I mean, they're always a phone call away. One thing that it's not a disadvantage this year because they are very helpful. They're always there. They're always a phone call away, but they are supporting all the schools this year.
Right. Since they're supporting all the schools, I can understand. But with you having this thing on Friday, would it not be important that the math, you said this tomorrow is Friday, that math would be there? Does she meet with all the math teachers? How many math teachers you have in your building?
I have 5.
5. That have she had the one-on-ones with them to show them any strategies that perhaps could help them? I heard you say PD, but perhaps you're talking about the whole staff. But I'm talking with just these people who are teaching math. What kind of insight or input she can motivate them to, get on the same page that you are. And I hear where you're going, but you can't get there by yourself.
Yes, ma'am. During the first semester, she did, because our departments meet every Tuesday, and she has been there multiple times. Math has been there multiple times on Tuesday. Miss Langston's been there. Miss Higgins has been there for math. Miss Langston, Mr. Carmichael, or Dr. Carmichael have been there multiple times when our departments meet to give them strategies to help them work through different roadblocks that they may have had. I know when ELA first started with their writing process, Miss Langston was right there beside them, making sure that They were following what the Atlas toolkit had, making sure that they were having all the necessary terminology, that everybody was on the same page. Math was the same way, making sure all the terminology, all the everything that is tested and that the wording is the same, that everybody's using the same terms. So to answer your question, yes. And I know if we had unlimited funds, Dr. Plusky would probably put one in every school, but, you know.
We have, and he has a network instructional
We do have one,
specialist.
yes, thank you.
But it would be great to have another one, because I think your current network instructional specialist came from ELA background.
Yes.
So they've got to be a little bit of generalist, but to put a full-time math person in there would be a great resource. But remember, every school has one, with the exception of 7 and 8, because they're a larger population. They have one ELA and one math, and then the high school has 3.
And one thing, and I hate that I forgot to mention that, but our network instructional specialist, Ms. Pack, one thing that I know Dr. Poore had mentioned in his report, and it's probably just an oversight on our end for not mentioning it, they talked about the mentoring part. That is one of her roles, you know, it's kind of other duties as assigned, that she has taken on. We have 3 new teachers this year, and she is their mentor. She is in their classrooms weekly, if not daily. They meet after school several times a week to go over, you know, what can be done better, what can we do to help. And if it wasn't for her, I'm talking about, they would be frazzled. You know, as a new teacher, even in today's times, a lot tougher than it was when we started. And so she has been a lifesaver when it comes to not only reading, math, science, but also mentoring our new teachers.
And kind of connecting those dots, Ms. Williams, as you were asking, one thing that we've bounced around, but the curriculum coordinators provide a great deal of training and direct support to the NISs. So those NISs can come back and make sure that the teachers are performing best practices or on pace and are on all those things. So it's kind of like a train the trainer model, where they're bringing them all in, just like we're bringing our principals in for principals meeting. Those NISs are also another layer that's just kind of boots on the ground instructional piece.
Okay. One question. Was it ELA? Would you break that down, the students that we're meeting when you say ELA? But
So that would be our English language arts students, which back when we were teaching, we just called it English. So now they've broken it down to English language arts, which also now includes literacy, writing, and reading all into the same thing. Yes, ma'am.
okay.
One other piece of data that wasn't required in here, but we did receive just as we got back from the holidays, that Ms. Langston sent out to us, was our Read 180 report. 60% of our students have gone from multiple grade levels behind in reading, which is 2 or more. 60% of them have grown to be 2 levels, making sure I'm saying this correctly, are almost, they're 2 grade levels below where they need to be. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words, because they were 2 grade levels below.
Right.
Now they're within 2 of being on grade level.
Gotcha.
So 60% of our students have grown that much in the Read 180 program. Now that's not all of our kids, that's just in that program, which we're looking at somewhere around 100 to 115 kids. So we're looking at...
That's tier 2, right?
That's a tier 2 intervention, so yes, sir. So I know that was one thing that you were looking for more than anything else, is looking at the growth. So that program has really helped, and that's really coming from our lower kids growing, that we're in our code program, which is the low end of Read 180. So 60% of those kids have grown in the Read 180 program.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
All right. thank you for everything that you're doing and supporting the teachers and our students. I had a question while you were talking as far as do you send out letters, like if they're in a certain tier, do you send out letters maybe to their parents so they'll know, or an email so they say, hey, your child is here, so this is what we're doing, this is a plan, this is a course of action?
So in math, we do. And then we get at the beginning of the year, we send home their Atlas scores. And so the parents do know. Now, it does not notify them if they're in the lowest quartile, but it does notify them if they're level 1, 2, 3, or 4. But in the math plan, it does let them know bottom quartile if they're a level 2 student, level 3, or level 4. So it is, the math plan is very prescriptive on where they are, because it's more of an individualized plan of where they are.
And at home, can they access these particular programs, support programs, while they're at home?
As far as the Success Maker, reading and math, yes.
And kind of off what Ms. Wonkum was saying, do you all send out like worksheets to like help support what they're doing? Just old-fashioned worksheets.
So what we have found is homework is something that, I'm not going to say that we have gotten away from homework.
Oh, we don't do homework?
What we look at as far as when we send stuff home is to reinforce the learning that has taken place. We're not going to send something home, like if we go over math problems, you know, 2-digit multiplication in math, and give them 30 problems to work on, and students are getting it. We're not going to send an additional 20 problems home for them to do the same thing over and over again. And
Yeah, not like necessarily like a sign work, but even if there's something that they haven't been introduced yet, like if they're, what you said, 2 grades behind or whatever, just, I don't know, maybe just, I didn't know if you all just send like worksheets home for them to work on, or either they can just work on it from their program.
Now, the Read 180 program is prescriptive at school, so that's not something they could do at home because it has to be done under the guidance of the teacher. Now, when we have our any type of unit test or chapter test, we do require that teachers send home any type of study guide, since we don't have textbooks that we send home. So there are study materials that we do send home for any type of assessment that we have. And so those are items that we do send home on a regular basis.
And is there any, well, maybe this might be an open-loaded question. Is there anything that maybe that you feel like you need assistance with that you don't have, or do you have any ideas, or what do you think could probably you can bring to the table? Okay, never mind. Talk to Jacob. That's all I have.
No, well, I do want to answer your question, but
Okay.
again, you know, there's, when it comes to running a school, you know, there's 3 things, you know, it's time, people, and money. And, you know, we always run out of time every day. We don't have enough people, and there's never enough money. And so it's one of those things where, you know, if we could ask for anything, as Dr. Paluski added, you know, if I had a network instructional specialist that was someone that could help with math. Now, Ms. Pack helps with math. I mean, having an elementary background, she can help with math. She can help with science also. You know, but she is also running those 3 areas herself. You know, so if I could ask or wish for one, that would be a help. You know, but again, you know, I know right now that we're looking at, you know, things are tight, but if that would be a wish of mine.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Good report. I just had one quick question. Is this where you want to be, or where you realistically feel like you can get? I mean, are you being optimistic, or is this, because I wasn't clear, I heard you say you think you can get there, but I didn't know if you were you know, like this is where we want to be and this is,
I will say the projection that I had on, I'm going to go to that slide, that 430 number. If we were to make that, that would be the highest score I've made since I was principal at the sixth grade campus. So,
so you're being optimistic.
yes.
Okay, all right.
Do I think we can get there? Yes. But, you know, everything has to align perfectly to get there. The growth is where I think we can make our biggest bang for our buck. The achievement is always tough. It's always tough for our school. The growth can get us there. Maybe not to that 430 mark, but it can get us to that C mark easily.
Okay, thank you.
I believe we can. I love your optimism, and stay that way. You believe it, you can achieve it. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are down to the next item, which is student expulsion.
Yep. Madam President, members of our board, I'll welcome Ms. Tiffany Randall, who's our coordinator of student-centered services, and then I'll welcome the family. And thanks, Tiffany. And prior to us getting started, and even introductions, sir, I will ask, do you want this as an open hearing, meaning it's open to the public and live, or a closed hearing that will not be live to the public? It will.
Closed hearing.
I'm sorry?
Close, please.
Yes, sir. We'll have a closed hearing.
We are back in session. Is there a motion?
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that we uphold the school board expulsion of ID 1000001899.
Second.
To be, the expulsion for the attendance of the North Little Rock School District for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. Thank you.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that we approve the recommendation for expulsion from attendance in the North Florida School District for the remainder of the 2025-2026 school year for student number 10000001899. There can be no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Can you take us off? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that we adjourn.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.